Hello. Good Monday morning. We are Fili Creative. I think we're all a little bit sleepy. I'm sensing that.
Yes. Just a
Maybe
tad.
just a little bit, like that, and my body is sore.
Yeah, I just haven't
yes.
gotten over feeling like poo Friday. I don't know what the deal was.
Uh-oh. So, what are your symptoms? Like cold symptoms or?
Yeah, like my face is like, it's not necessarily stopped up, it's just sore. And like my body is kind of sore and my throat is kind of sore. I don't know.
Oh, mine doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't have that, thankfully. But mine is most likely like I don't. I'm not stopped up, but I feel like there maybe is a little extra mucus up there.
I'm dying from the
That could
plague.
just be because I keep my place colder than most people would. The body aches is most likely due to having to utilize different muscles yesterday while installing the bidet attachment that came in over the weekend.
Nice.
Because there's not a whole lot of room next to that, so I kind of have to like crouch over the toilet and then like reposition myself, and just it's real funky.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of not fun. Yeah.
It's not like a super difficult installation by any means, but it's you have to figure out what the best method is for the area and amount of space that you have, and it took me a little bit to figure that out after trying to do different ways. But the right side is
All
it's
right,
installed,
well,
so you know.
Gotcha. Well, maybe we'll swing back to bidet here in a bit. Let's
Bidet.
start with a bidet. Let's start with a quick update on where the coronavirus is now, even though it's rather depressing. According to that New York Times article I've been referencing last week, and this one, we're at about 33,000 cases as of this morning in the United States, and 428 deaths.
Wow.
So
Oh,
it
geez.
continues to get worse, and yeah, I think hopefully that curve. I don't know if you've seen those line graphs comparing the United States and other countries, but we're still almost doubling every 2 days.
Ugh.
So yeah, we really need to start flattening that curve for us to not have to be in quarantine forever, and for a bunch of people to not die.
Yeah, no joke.
Can we
I know
just
that,
talk about like the massive amounts of misinformation that are happening? Because that's driving me crazy. Just saying.
There's a lot of
there's
crap
some
out there.
really scary stuff out
Like,
there.
just believe real science, and like, I don't know, maybe double check what the CDC and who has to say about it, because everything you see on the internet's probably not just true.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so well. I mean, there's so many. What kills me is that whether it's from, either half of whether it's on the Democratic or Republican side, there's just so much out there that is specifically created as misinformation that
Politically, yeah.
politically that they know folks are just going to share without double checking, and because that's what a lot of people do. I mean, they see something and then they just immediately share it.
Yeah.
Like,
There's definitely some truth to that.
right.
I mean, if it's something like memes, I get like there's we like those, we share them. They're like a
Haha, it's
chuckle
funny,
for,
right.
yeah. I mean, stuff like anything that's political or informational, you should at least do a check before you share that, because there's so much crap out there. The worst one that I saw over the weekend was more of like an anti-vaxxers one, which said that like
They were saying that the vaccine was going to give you coronavirus.
right. I think it was
One that you
like
sent out,
like
yeah.
Bill Gates and some other people were supposedly in on creating the coronavirus, and then if like don't get vaccinated, it's that like it was a collaboration with the CDC and all this crap. Like
I mean, that's kind of how vaccines work, is they give you part of whatever dead thing they're trying to protect you against. But like viruses,
right.
I don't know, man. That's a little different.
It is
I
a bit
like-
different.
I wish them luck without their vaccine. I mean, as soon as that vaccine comes out, me and mine are going to get it.
Right.
Yeah, just as soon as we possibly can. So, yeah, it's
I have such a heart, like, well, I guess I should, I want to believe that there aren't people out there who believe in that crap. Not the vaccines, but just like that misinformation that's out there.
Right.
Yeah.
But
right.
There's so much out there that it doesn't quite make me lose faith in humanity, but it does take it down a peg.
It's pretty close.
It is with crap like that out there.
Agreed.
I did hear, as far as like not on the misinformation side, but just as an update on the coronavirus itself, I saw, I think it was yesterday, Douglas County has issued a stay-in order.
I think there's a couple Kansas City metro area places that have
Johnson County and Jackson County also issued stay-in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only a matter of how long until we do it.
Well, Saline County still hasn't reported a person, so...
It's true, but I did end up having to...
Beloit, which, Beloit is a tiny town northwest of here, and they reported one, which to me means if they have one in Beloit, we've got several, at least, because there may not be reported
and
yet.
There's no way that, like, people in Wichita are coming down with it, and, like, none of us have it, because Wichita is just too much of a regular travel place for Salina people. Like, if there's not an office job here in town, people drive to Wichita daily for work. So, I mean...
Yeah, it seems inevitable that we will eventually get cases.
Yeah.
So.
I am a little concerned in some ways. I did have to go out this weekend, because the one thing I had forgotten to stock up on was extra cat food and cat litter. And I didn't think about it until this weekend.
Until you needed it.
Well, I don't strictly need it as of yet, but I'm positive that in the next, 2 or 3 weeks I might run out, so... And by then we might be in lockdown.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of wondering the same thing, because, like, I bought a couple weeks' worth of groceries. I didn't, like, panic buy the whole damn store, but I need to go grocery shopping again probably by the end of this week to restock, and I should probably do it a little bit earlier, just in case.
Yeah, I ended up... I was going to try and wait to go out again until I got... I bought one of those neck gaiter things where, like, you basically just pull it up over here, like up over your face. I guess kind of like a bandana, but it's more like a tube that you just, like, put on over your head and then put back up here. As just kind of a mask of sorts. And that won't get here until next week, so...
Gotcha. At least it'll keep you from touching your face.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There's some concerning things I saw somebody had shared about... the availability of toilet paper in town, and like there was a truck that arrived at one of the grocery stores. I think the Crawford Dillon's, and they ran out of toilet paper 30 minutes after it got there.
That's insane.
Or maybe even less.
That's crazy.
People had to come 30 minutes before the store opened, and then there was like a rush for toilet paper.
I don't understand what the big deal specifically on toilet paper is.
Well, now it's the people that didn't stock up that are actually running out that need toilet paper.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because they were, SOL to begin with because other people bought a whole ton of it.
Right. I guess, I think I mentioned I don't know if we mentioned on one of these, but even before we really knew a whole lot about coronavirus and, the panic started setting in of people, it was just because I had needed some, had bought, I guess it was not a 48 pack. It was like a 12 pack of the mega rolls.
Oh, yep.
So technically, there's more on the roll instead of
Yep.
whatever. But I had bought that just because I had run out. So.
Yep, that's what I still have. I think I still have 12 rolls of toilet paper at home. So.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
But then again, I also just installed the bidet, so I shouldn't need to use too much of that.
That's good. That's great.
It is, as if you're wanting a review as to how it feels cold. Very cold. But I do feel cleaner, so you know.
Oh, good. That's very good. Why don't we do some random questions?
Okay.
Okay.
Or if you guys have thought of
Let
any.
me whip up a list here.
I got the question of the day.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
All right. What simple change in your life would have the biggest positive impact?
The end of coronavirus. Done.
I think there are two. If we're just talking a simple change, I mean, right now the biggest change in my life is the intermittent fasting that I'm doing, and technically that's kind of a simple change because I'm just choosing not to eat every other day. But
I bet your fasting grocery list is very short, and I bet that's perfect for someone who has to shelter in place.
It is a little bit. Like, I have enough to keep me going for probably maybe a month or so at this point, since I'm really only eating every other day. What I hadn't thought about, and I completely forgot, is to get, like, Ziploc bags. So that if I, cook something, I could just freeze it and then take it out. I did have to actually end up buying a disposable turkey pan this weekend because I had bought a turkey just because I hadn't had turkey in a while, and the only kind they didn't have ones that were of the smaller variety when I got it. So like I think it's like an 11 or 12 pound turkey, which is way more than a single person needs, and that's too big for my crock pot. So I'm gonna have to actually roast it this time instead of slow cook it.
Right.
Which is different for me. But so technically, if we're talking about like intermittent fasting, isn't like it's a big change, but it's not like super complicated. But I would say I think right now maybe just going on like 15 to 30-minute walks every day, or specifically taking an hour out of my day to read, I think would have a bigger impact on my life, and in a positive way.
Yeah.
I think the smallest change that could make the biggest impact for me would probably be something like riding my bike to work again. Which, while I was pregnant, that was the only reason I had to give that up. But now that I'm not pregnant, I could definitely ride my bike to work. I would say something like stop drinking soda, but like the last time I stopped drinking soda, like I didn't lose any weight or anything. I mean, honestly, yeah it's probably better for me to not to, but I really like soda.
I agree.
I've just gotten to myself to a point where I just don't drink it that often. Primarily, especially with like the intermittent fasting, I try not to drink super unhealthily.
And it's not even like the caffeine for me. I can drink coffee. That's not that big of a deal. It's just I like soda.
The only soda I really crave is root beer. That is my go-to. It's my favorite.
Why don't we do another question?
All right.
Okay.
Here's a question that I have an answer to.
Okay.
And I'm going to change the question a little bit. If you could see any movie on TV right now, what movie would it be?
Ooh. Like one that's just recently come out, or
any movie, period.
Any movie.
A movie, period?
And my answer is they filmed Hamilton with the original Broadway cast in New York a couple years ago. And that they're going to put it out in theaters eventually.
Right.
But I would just love to be able to watch that right now. That would be what I would want to watch.
that would be pretty good.
Oh man.
I would love, and this is kind of a weird one, but there is a movie that I think Jerry Lewis wrote and starred in, or at least starred in. I don't know. I think he also directed it. That has never been released, And there's a reason for that. Is because it is it's a guy that I think he plays a clown or was a clown and gets put in a
Insane asylum.
no. Okay, so I guess I should preface this by saying it takes place during the Holocaust.
Oh.
And this character gets put in one of the camps. I don't think it was intended to be funny, but it's just something that he never released because he didn't like it and didn't feel like it was going to do well. Or there's a whole thing about it. This is purely out of curiosity's sake. I'm very interested to know why, with the nature of that movie and everything.
Honestly, my choice would be like the entirety of like the Dark Tower series. I know they started to like put a couple of them out, like the Gunslinger, but like I want the whole universe like tied up in a nice little bow. And that requires those movies to exist. And like I know they're probably like in the works and they're working on them, but if I could sit down and watch all of those right now, I definitely would.
Well, they actually did. They did put out one Dark Tower series movie.
Yeah, the Gunslinger.
A couple of years ago, but as I understand it, it's not very much like most all Hollywood adaptations. It's not close to the book, as is my understanding.
They tried to wrap up 2 books into one, which I mean sometimes works, but like Stephen King's universe is just so vast and like wide that like everything kind of has a connection. Like in It, they kind of mentioned that it's like it is a universal big bad and like it's part of like everything, right? It is everywhere, and that's kind of like part of it as well. So they're trying to tie it all together, but they're getting there. It's just taking a little while.
Yeah. Well, some of those concepts are super hard to do because you mentioned It. I mean, they don't. One of the central parts about the book that's when I think it's Bill, especially during like the kid in the kid years, he gets in contact with, I think is it Maturin, like the giant space turtle that like vomited out our universe.
Oh God, I don't even remember.
And,
it's been forever.
The way he actually defeated it, if I remember correctly, was like a giant mental battle between the two of them.
Yep.
And so that wouldn't have been possible without Maturin's help. And so it's technically this other kind of big bad on the other spectrum from Maturin, and actually like fears Maturin. And so like it's just
right.
There's a whole lot. And I guess like that, as I understand it, the Dark Tower itself
ties together all of these different multiverses.
Yeah. And so like that's I want to read more.
So
of those.
I just looked it up.
What was that?
I've never even heard of the Dark Tower, so I was just reading about it as a series.
Oh my goodness!
There's a lot of stuff in there.
They put
I need to read those.
They put the Gunslinger out, and it was 2 movies in one, and it was okay, and it kind of like laid the foundation for the idea that there's going to be like multi-universes tied together through it, but it left it very much so needing more.
I can believe it. Well, there are some things that are just hard to put to screen, especially when they're more like cosmic ideas. I mean, I know for the longest time they said that Lord of the Rings could never be made into a movie,
right.
And then they made the trilogy, and they do a pretty damn good job with the trilogy. That I'm not surprised that they could do that, but there are just some ideas that I don't think translate well.
I think it takes the right person too. Like Peter Jackson, he was the right person for Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
It takes somebody who has enough respect for the source material,
like, and a knowledge
right,
as to what you can and can't compress.
Right.
And has a good idea of how to pick up the strings, because like Peter Jackson, when he did Lord of the Rings, like there was a lot of stuff he had to kind of interpret and come out of. So I think it's the same way with Stephen King's work. It might just take the right person. So many of his books have been made into movies that, I think, I don't know. Maybe that kind of stands in the way of a good movie being made or good series of movies.
I don't know, man. It and It too were pretty
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I still have yet to see the secondary one. I still want to watch that one. I've heard the second one is not as good as the first. I will say, as far as Stephen King movies go, of the ones that I have seen, my favorite is probably still Misery.
Misery is pretty good.
I haven't seen that one.
It's hard, like Kathy Bates. She is so scary in that movie.
Yep.
Legitimately, she's terrifying. And then, oh man, I've seen, so evidently there's actually like a play adaptation of Misery out there.
There is.
I've never seen it. I wish I did. Evidently my my former improv coach was in a play once, and they did. But so I didn't know if it was his or like another group. I saw a video on Facebook years ago that was a lady in like a bookstore who was going crazy and being super obnoxious and abusive because they didn't have this specific book.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the character, the Kathy Bates' character from the movie.
Yep.
That character in the show, they were doing like a promotional thing
Cool.
in the bookstore for those, like, and nobody knew what was happening. They just were like staring and watching,
That's
and she's
horrifying.
screaming at the guy at the counter about why they didn't have this latest novel and stuff. And it's like that is super interesting marketing from my perspective. Like that's really cool.
That's neat. Do we want another question?
I think so.
Yeah, please.
Okay. If you could only speak one word for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh no.
That's a
Doesn't
bad
mean you
word.
can't learn
That
to
is a bad
sign.
word, sir. I wouldn't pick that one.
I have a much worse word in my brain.
Yeah, I was gonna say, could I pick a curse word? I need it to, I don't know, enlighten my word choice.
I don't know. Like there are certain things that, like, if we, wanted to say yes or no,
You
you can just do this or do this. They didn't say that you couldn't learn sign language.
You're right. So what's the hardest word to sign? Maybe that's the word I can speak.
I would say, I'm going to say the word would be maybe, because there's no, like, simply because there probably is sign language with that, but if we're going under the assumption that we can't use sign language, that would be something like, there's no, like, I can do this for yes and this for no.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really a thing for maybe, other than, like, this is I don't know.
Right.
Most of the time.
Right.
I think I would go with maybe.
If we've learned anything from Guardians of the Galaxy, it's that you can say a lot with one. Groot says a lot, even though he can only say
One word.
one phrase.
Right.
Like it's all about his inflection and what he's looking at and how he's acting, and So I guess in my opinion, it doesn't matter too much as long as it doesn't distract listeners from what you're really trying to say.
Right. I think I like Tim's idea of being able to sign things. So I think, like, what's the one word that, like, everyone, like, needs to hear? It's less about me and more about, like, what people need to hear to make sure they understand. And so I think I would pick, not to be, like, super mushy, but I would pick the word love, because you can't sign that. You, like, and actually mean it.
Technically you
can, but it lacks emotion. So I feel like if you could get some emotion out through one word, that might be worth it.
Well, actually, I mean, you can put emotion through that. Like, one thing that was a thing for my family growing up is that my mom used to she used to know, like, the whole, I don't know if she still does or not, the alphabet for sign language, and that's one thing that when I was growing up, anytime that we were leaving to go somewhere, we would always do this. Or, like, when we were saying goodnight, we would, like, put a hand on, like, their hand and do the same.
Right.
It was either that or we would do this, which means bathroom. For when we were in, like, when we were in church, we needed a kind of a silent way to say that.
Right.
And so we would just look at our parent and do this, so we could go and do that, and they would know where we were at. I think one thing that people overlook is there's a lot of there's a lot of feeling that comes through just your eyes
It's true.
and how you're looking. And I think there's a lot of emotion that comes behind that. So, I mean, if you're looking at somebody and you can still move your facial muscles,
It's true.
that can still say a lot about how you're feeling if you were to do this. Actually, weirdly, and this is kind of going along with that, the day I was born, there's a picture of me on my mom's stomach after being born. In the picture, I'm doing this to her, like on her chest, probably unintentional, but it's there.
Nice.
That's cool.
But
Well, on that happy note, why don't we wrap it for today there? It's Monday. Hopefully, 4 more days of vlogs coming, and we should have some other content for you this week as well. We all got our capture cards in for our
Yay!
PlayStation, so we have some work to figure out exactly how that's all going to work. But hopefully, late this week, maybe even early next week, you should see something on this channel. So, thanks a lot. Best of luck to you. Hope you're feeling well, and hopefully the world gets to be a better place every day. So, thanks again, and we will see you tomorrow.
See ya.
bye.
Bye.